Alright, so terrestrial environments, you have to balance your salt, water, nitrogen, pretty much everything, your temperature, how much energy you have, and the balance of all this stuff can be put into just a phrase called homeostasis. So homeostasis is kind of this dynamic consistency where you have a range and you want to keep yourself within that range, and you're always fluctuating. As you go higher, something turns on to push you lower. As you go too low, something turns on to push you higher, and you just kind of go up and down. This is due to negative feedback loops. I'm hoping this is not the first time you've heard of homeostasis and negative feedback loops. You probably heard a lot of it in physiology, probably general biology. There's lots of classes that talk about this, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. Basically, we want to stay in homeostasis within our defined ranges, and we use negative feedback loops to do that. And here is just a little flow chart to kind of show you like how that negative feedback works. Okay, so one of my favorite terrestrial mammals, definitely one of my favorite terrestrial rodent, has to be kangaroo rats. They are amazing little creatures that you find in North America, especially in like sandy habitats. I haven't seen any around here, but in Texas where I grew up, I grew up pretty close to the Red River, and we have kangaroo rats there, especially out around Vernon, any place that's kind of sandy area. On the Red River itself, you have a endangered kangaroo rat called the Texas kangaroo rat, and it's only found in a couple places off the Red River. But they are super cool animals. They are mostly bipedal, so these really big hind legs like kangaroos, and these little bitty forepaws, and then a really long tail that they use for balance. And they're nocturnal, and they eat like seeds and stuff that they forage for in the sand. But they're amazing. They have a couple behavioral adaptations that help them to survive in these arid environments. So you're always going to find them where there's probably not a lot of free water in sand, desert places. And so they conserve water one way by only going out at night. So they're nocturnal, so they don't lose a lot of their water via evaporation. They also have amazing kidneys. So if you look at the kidneys in a K-rat, they are proportionally larger than another rodent species that probably lives in a more mesic environment. And so this is sometimes called morphometrics or allometry. Allometry is what we're doing in lab this week. So you're comparing either the same organism at various sizes or at different localities, or you can look at different species either in the same or various localities. There's lots of different ways you can do it. But what you're doing is you're comparing two structures or one structure at two places. And so here we're looking at the morphometrics or the allometry of kidney size relative to precipitation. You can see when the precipitation is low, when there's not a lot of rain, the kidneys tend to be pretty large. They're larger so they can filter out more water, so they can concentrate that urine a lot better. And K-rats are, again, amazing. They get all their water from the seeds that they eat. And then when they go through metabolic respiration, the end byproduct of that is water and carbon dioxide. And so they're able to live off the water that they eat from the seeds and that they produce via respiration. They don't drink anything. Kind of like the little beetles that we have for our beetle lab. Very, very cool animals. These K-rats also have really dry poop, and so they don't lose a lot of water through their feces either. Very neat animals. Okay, so going back to urine, anything that eats protein has to break that protein down. So what is an organism that eats protein? You're probably thinking a carnivore. But even plants have proteins, especially in beans and stuff. So pretty much anything that is a consumer is consuming proteins. Carnivores or predators are going to eat a lot more protein. And they have to break down those amino acids to get the energy from it, or to use them. They can deaminate, they can transaminate. And when you're doing that, you're making nitrogen waste products. Your urine is a major way to get rid of nitrogenous waste products. And depending on where you are, you'll probably use a different system. So when you're removing these amino groups from the amino acids, the first molecule you make is ammonia. Now, ammonia in high concentrations is really dangerous. And so some animals make ammonia and then excrete it. You find this often in aquatic animals. So as soon as they're making that ammonia from getting rid of those nitrogens on the amino acids, they excrete it out their skin, or they pee it out. They have plenty of water to use to get rid of that ammonia. Getting rid of the ammonia, you have to have lots of water to dilute it and get rid of it quickly. Other things, typically what you see on land, especially in mammals, is we change that ammonia into something called urea. Urea? Urine. That's where it gets its name. And so urea is a much less dangerous molecule than ammonia. And so you're able to build it up and store it in a storage system, like your bladder, right? To be released at a later time. So you can store it as urea. Some animals actually take it a step further. Urea, just think of how much water is in your pee. Probably quite a bit, right? It's a lot of water. Versus the ammonia would be even more water. This is still quite a bit of water. Some animals, like birds and reptiles, they don't urinate. They have a cloaca. And so they poop and pee out of the same hole. And they concentrate their nitrogenous waste as uric acid. Uric acid tends to be like a white paste. So they really pulled a lot of water out of it and made it like a paste material versus like a liquid that we have with urea. So uric acid pulls out even more water, so they're able to really concentrate that and make it almost into a paste, which is really cool. Okay, and so that's the trade-off between water and nitrogen. If you have lots of water, man, just pump it out as ammonia. It doesn't take any energy to transform it. Urea takes more energy than ammonia, but less energy than uric acid. Takes less water than ammonia, takes more water than uric acid. And so you kind of get this trade-off between, okay, how much water do I have? How much energy do I have to put in to change this molecule to a less water-intensive molecule? So if you have a lot of water, you can do ammonia. If you don't, you can do uric acid. Alright, so that's it for this chapter. I want you to think about what is homeostasis, how is it controlled, And like for how is it controlled, like just think negative feedback, all right? And then the cost and benefits with our different nitrogenous products, ammonia, uric acid, urea. And with that, we are done.